Hey y'all, Mr. Kyle, Myers Mathematics, and let's jump into it. We have Infinite Algebra 1 from Kuta Software, Systems of Equations, Word Problems. We're doing just number 1 in this video, but if you're watching this and this video is a little bit old, as in a week plus, then I'll have the next one, at the very least, if not more, out as well, and the rest of the video if you're watching this and this is, we're in the future, according to me. So, number 1, find the value of two numbers if their sum is 12 and their difference is 4. It's like a little riddle. What is the value of two numbers if their sum is 12 and their difference is 4? So one way you can do this that's fairly straightforward is just kind of like a guess and check. This is like the not so algebraic way to do it. So let's say one of the numbers is A and another number is B. Okay. Well, you can kind of just check and see what's going to happen. So it says their sum is 12 and their difference is 4. Well, I can actually hold one of these in place. So if you remember in science class, if you've had a science class where you've done this yet, I don't know, but maybe you can let me know if this is something that sounds familiar. When you're doing a science experiment, you have something that you're restricting, usually a lot of some things, and then you only change one thing. So you kind of keep most everything the same and only change like one thing, and that way you can measure what the change is. So for instance, let's say you're gonna grow different kinds of grow a certain kind of flower. So it's the same kind of flower, and you start with the same kind of seeds, and you put them in the same kind of soil with the same amount of water, um, in the same temperature. They're all kind of next to each other, but you adjust, or let's say I already did way too many things. I feel like. Here's what you could do. Let's say you like put one seed like really far into the dirt, and one seed is like just kind of laying on top and everywhere in between, and you can measure how quickly it takes off, how quickly the plant will sprout based on how far down in the dirt you put the seed or something like that. So you change one thing, you keep everything else the same. With math, it's almost the reverse if we're using this method. If we want to see what's going to be different, we want to keep one thing the same and see what changes as we try different things out. So let's say we make the difference always 4. So the difference is always 4. If the difference is always going to be 4, then we can see what else happens. So, okay, if a difference of 4, well, you could do like 4 and 0, right? So 4, and then b would have to be 0, right? Because then the difference would be 4, right? 4 minus 0. But what would the sum be? The sum would be 4. Okay. And then you can kind of just try different numbers out, right? So we kind of just, as long as you increase both of them by 1, so 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Let's try out to 10 maybe. And see what happens. So if we want the difference to always be 4, then this would need to be 1. Okay? That would need to be 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then what's the difference going to be? Okay. Or sorry, the sum. So now the sum is going to be 6, then 8, then 10, and then 12. Bingo! That's what we want. So the numbers are 8 and 4. So this is one way you could do it. It's a guess and check method. You basically just make a t-chart. You keep one thing the same. So you could have kept their sum the same. You could have just tried to add up numbers to 12 and make sure it always adds up to 12, but then like change them a little bit each time so that it always adds up to 12, but the numbers are different every time. So let's say you could do like 12 and 0. That adds to 12. 11 and 1. That adds to 12. 10 and 2. That adds to 12. And then you can keep doing it that way and then eventually find out which two numbers have a difference of 4. So you can do it that way as well. And this is kind of a nice method because it doesn't require you to create equations and it doesn't require you to do the more fancy stuff. It isn't going to be as fast, typically. So that's the trade off here. It's a simpler method. It's not going to give you the answer as fast, but it's a little easier to deal with. You kind of just try out different numbers and then see what works. However, if you just kind of like randomly guess and just see what works without organizing it into a table and without having some sort of process, you're maybe not even going to find the answer doing it that way. You've got to have a system, and that's why we use a T-chart to help us organize how we're going about doing it. Okay, so if you're going to use a T-chart and do guess and check, awesome. If not, here's how you would do it algebraically. So algebraically, we would say, okay, so the two numbers add to 12 if their sum is 12. Their sum, meaning A and B, so A plus B equals 12, right? So A plus B equals 12. Okay. And their difference is 4. So a difference of 4. So their difference, A and B, the difference between A and B, aka subtract, is 4. And then you can just use a system of equations to solve. So if I add these two equations, then the b's would cancel and I'd get 2a. A plus a is 2a. And then that would equal 12 plus 4 is 16. And then I divide by 2. And then a would equal 8. And then I could plug it back in. Oh, you guys can't see that. Let me move it a little bit. Move it on up. So then I get a is equal to 8, and then I could plug it back in and figure out that b is supposed to be 4 at that point. So you could do it that way as well. And this way is a little faster, but you have to be able to set up the equations, right? So that's kind of the trade-off. If you're doing equations, it's going to get the answer a little faster, but it requires a little more big brain stuff, I guess. So it's just kind of whatever your vibe is. You get the answer using the T-chart in not that much more time than if you do the equation setup. And if you try to do the equation setup and you can't, or you're having trouble setting up the equations, then maybe for you the T-chart is faster, right? So that's why I wanted to show you both. Is you just got to figure out what works for you. And obviously, if the teacher wants you to use the equations, then you got to use the equations because they're the ones giving you the grade, not me. But if you can pick and you can just show your work and get the answer, both of these methods are good methods. I recommend both. It's just kind of, pick one and be really good at one of these methods. Like for me, I'm better at the algebraic method than I am with the T-chart. To me, it just, because it takes longer and I have ADHD, it just, it's just, I kind of lose my focus sometimes with longer methods. So I try to always do the shortest method possible. And that way I don't have to worry about losing my focus on the way to the answer. So you just got to figure out what works for you. And hopefully one of those will. And I encourage you to try both. Try both. Pause the video. Try both. And let me know in the comments which one worked better for you. And do that. And yeah, so that's actually it. We're just doing this one problem. So that's the end of the video. Hope you liked it. I've got other videos in this same vein of Algebra 1 worksheets. And I also have a bunch of stuff on my website, myersmathematics.com. Link in the description below. You can go check that out. I think on the main page, I have a little PDF called The 5 Math Mistakes Everyone Makes and How to Avoid Them. Long title, pretty helpful little PDF that's like a free download or something like that. So go check that out, myersmathematics.com. And I'll catch you in the next video real soon. Blessings.